now can you see the Broncos winning the Super Bowl?
Not quite, but what I will say is if the Bo Nix they've got in the last month is the Bo Nix that shows up in the playoffs, then yes. And I have to give credit to the at least idea that I was wrong about him and that a young player is going to continue to improve. He is playing his best football right now. That was a great win. That was one of the few games this year where the Broncos defense wasn't awesome. I mean, Surtain had the great pick. It's not like the defense was terrible, but they didn't win because of the defense. They won because of the offense. And here is the situation they now find themselves in. They have a very tough and very important game next week against Jacksonville. After that, it is the Kansas City backups in Week 17, and then a Chargers team that probably will be locked into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so they could have a lot, for good or for bad, a lot of time for rest and everything before a bye, one seed, get everyone healthy.
Too much rest.
Maybe. I mean, they played a huge game this weekend, and they play a huge game next weekend. And I thought for Bo Nix, I thought the best game of his career through 28 games was the Chiefs. And I thought the best game of his career through 29 games, whatever it was the Commanders. And the best game of his career up to this point now was the Packers.
Yeah.
So he is peaking, and Sean Payton's doing his thing. And so begrudgingly, I give him credit. I still would be very surprised if they won the Super Bowl, but they have an amazing resume at this point, Brew.
Yeah, your question is, can they? Yes, they can. Again, I think the Bills should be the favorite in the AFC. But Bo Nix, with that defense, first of all, is phenomenal. And I think they're similar to the Texans. Is C.J. Stroud going to be great? Is Bo Nix going to be great? If either one of those guys plays well, then their team could go all the way. And Bo Nix looks like a big game quarterback. Like you said, in the last few weeks, he's outplayed Patrick Mahomes, and yesterday he outplayed Jordan Love in big games. So we all know about his fourth quarter comebacks. So I know last year he wasn't great in the playoff and all that, but he looks like a guy that the moment's not too big for. And so I'm going to say, yeah, they can win the Super Bowl.
And unlike CJ, has a great offensive line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? CJ's running for his life.
Yeah, absolutely they can win the Super Bowl. And it's because of the guy you all are talking about, Bo Nix. Look, Sean Payton said that he had a Super Bowl team. With this team, with this outfit. And we all kind of questioned that. I didn't question it as much, but it was going to be because of this young man and the steps or the strides and the progress that he made. It wasn't looking sexy.
A month ago, it didn't look like.
But
it looked like he was the weak link of the team.
Since that game, and since that game against the Chiefs, Bo Nix has been outright electric.
Yep.
Like the numbers suggest that he has been playing top elite quarterbacking in the National Football League. Like this is what their team points per games is. Completion percentage, 70%. We know he was struggling there. Passing yards per game up. Touchdown to turnover ratio up. Like Bo Nix has been really, really good, and it just hasn't been the fourth quarter. It's been through the duration. And I've sat in this seat and I said, if they can get the fourth quarter Bo Nix to start the game and finish the game in that magnitude, this team is special.
With his good, go ahead, sorry.
And that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. With as good as we feel about him having a 9-point comeback, think about how good we'd feel if they had blown a big lead.
All right, let's delve into point B. It's quite amusing to listen to the discourse surrounding this topic. There was no skepticism or questioning directed at Sean Payton when he declared this squad a championship-caliber team. Instead, his statement was met with derision and labeled as absurd, with specific commentary dismissing Bo Nix's capabilities and suggesting Payton is prone to fabrication. This is the premier team in the National Football League. I also find it noteworthy how the Denver Broncos defeated the Green Bay Packers, a squad universally lauded as elite, the top contender, etc., on their own field, despite entering the game as underdogs. They have effectively secured, as much as one can at this stage, the conference's top playoff seed. And yet, the ensuing conversation will scarcely focus on the Broncos. Multiple segments will be devoted to Kansas City, Buffalo, New England, and Baltimore, the latter even receiving an improved placement in the programming rundown. The Los Angeles Rams and Detroit Lions received their due attention. Meanwhile, the Denver Broncos are relegated to a brief, roughly 4-minute segment tacked onto the end of the broadcast, right before a commercial break. Fascinating how that distribution works out. Truly fascinating. This dynamic is precisely why subscribing and watching content in its entirety is crucial. I am dedicated to producing the highest quality Denver Broncos analysis possible. When you, the audience, watch the complete video and subscribe, the impact is direct and substantial. Viewership and subscriber counts increase dramatically. I cannot stress this enough. This is not merely a pursuit of metrics. Yes, I am an individual attempting to grow a platform. I appreciate views and subscribers. However, the core objective is to create material that people authentically desire to engage with, debate, and discuss. That is the fundamental goal. Your engagement enables me to continue crafting this dedicated Broncos coverage. I was on the verge of creating a critique based on a passing, seemingly minor remark made earlier in a broadcast, prepared to label it ridiculous. I decided to wait, thinking, surely they will provide substantive coverage of this game. Yet, the outcome was a token acknowledgement. Yeah, what they're doing is pretty impressive. Perhaps I was somewhat mistaken. I suppose a young quarterback can indeed improve over time. Amazing. The irony is palpable, especially given the previous focus on Bo Nix's completion percentage as a purported flaw. First, it's critical to note that drop rates for Nix have been exceptionally high. Here is what is truly remarkable, and this is vital data from the last 3 games. The offense is averaging 28.3 points per game. Bo Nix's completion percentage is 70.9%. He is averaging 278.3 passing yards per game. His touchdown-to-turnover ratio is an impressive 6-to-1. His passer rating is 101.6. Furthermore, within that same 3-game span, Bo Nix remains near the top of the league in passes dropped by his receivers, just 1 fewer drop than both Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes have endured. A single drop difference. So, the issue of unreliable hands persists. When examining adjusted completion percentage, which accounts for drops, his figure skyrockets to 80.2%. For comparison, Trevor Lawrence is at 73.8%, Brock Purdy at 70%, Joe Burrow at 71.1%, and Patrick Mahomes at 69.8%. This indicates Nix has been throwing with exceptional accuracy. The comparison grows even more compelling. Bo Nix's raw completion percentage is 70.9%. He is tied in this metric with Josh Allen. However, the volume differs significantly. Nix has had 128 dropbacks compared to Allen's 99. Nix has 83 completions to Allen's 56. Nix has 117 pass attempts to Allen's 79. Nix has accumulated 835 yards to Allen's 567. Now, Allen likely has more total touchdowns. He is a phenomenal, dominant player. We acknowledge that. My point to Broncos supporters is this. Observe Josh Allen. That is the archetype you are aspiring toward, the potential trajectory you hope Bo Nix might follow. One might argue, perhaps Nix is just executing short, safe passes. That is incorrect. His average depth of target is actually greater. The disparity in supporting casts is stark. Josh Allen has suffered only 2 drops in this period, while Bo Nix has endured 6. That is a substantial difference and makes his production even more noteworthy. Admittedly, some statistical comparisons are complicated by bye weeks and varying game scripts. However, one metric cuts through the noise: pressure to sack percentage. Over these 3 games, Nix was pressured 45 times, a significant number. His pressure to sack rate was a mere 8.9%. That is an extraordinary figure, realistically as efficient as one could ever hope for from a quarterback under duress. To expect better would border on greed. Therefore, yes, the Denver Broncos are capable of winning a Super Bowl. Bo Nix is an excellent quarterback. Will he be flawless? Of course not. Is there room for subpar performances, mistakes, or moments of poor judgment? Absolutely, because he is in his 2nd professional season. Such occurrences are inherent to development. The persistent issue has been the outright doubt and dismissive attitude toward what Bo Nix and the Broncos could achieve. It has become a joke. This situation perfectly illustrates why maintaining accurate, grounded analysis is essential. It is acceptable to note That performance against the Jets was not good. It is fine to say the game versus the Raiders was subpar. One can argue, I don't believe Bo Nix was the primary issue. Conversely, after blowing out the Cowboys, one could acknowledge it was impressive, while also contextualizing it. That is a Cowboys defense with severe problems. The key is being comfortable with nuanced, sometimes uncomfortable conversations. You must be willing to say, that was a bad performance. Or conversely, that performance seemed poor, but upon review, it really wasn't. Or, that performance was great, but we must contextualize it against weaker competition. The goal is to cut through hyperbole to perceive reality, avoiding the binary of bad game, they're terrible, Nix is awful, and great game, see? I told you he's the greatest quarterback ever. One must remain grounded and sometimes comfortable stating, I need to wait for more information. You do not always require the most definitive hot take conclusion. When Sean Payton asserts, Bo Nix is our guy, this is what I wanted, perhaps extend a degree of trust. Even if you disagree, the reaction could be, all right, I need to assess if he's being truthful. His job and reputation are tied to this. He believes this is a Super Bowl roster. I may not agree, but they did make the playoffs last year. Nix has shown improvement. Other informed voices are noting his progress. All right, let's just observe. Even when you disagree with what you see or hear, consider the source and its credibility. It is simply ironic that this Denver Broncos team, holding the best record in the NFL, playing their most proficient football, receives less substantive discussion than numerous other franchises. I concede that the Chiefs and Eagles command attention logically. They have been dominant, won championships, and possess massive fan bases. They are grandfathered into the spotlight, especially Kansas City with their injury narrative and playoff absence. That is a major NFL story. Philadelphia consistently generates drama. I understand that. Teams like Buffalo and Baltimore have enjoyed more prolonged, sustained success. However, the amount of discussion devoted to New England, Green Bay, and Chicago, teams without a clear, singular, transcendent star like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes to drive the narrative, compared to the Broncos, is puzzling. I frequently discuss this because I cannot comprehend it. This was a monumental game. Denver Broncos versus Green Bay Packers. I was eagerly anticipating this matchup. This is football royalty, the Packers and the Broncos. This featured two elite top-tier NFL teams clashing, with Green Bay vying for the top seed and Denver solidifying their hold on it. These are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Yes, the Packers sustained injuries, which altered the landscape slightly, but this was a genuine preview of a potential championship matchup. The Broncos won. Bo Nix played unbelievably, making extraordinary throws and pivotal plays. And yet, it is barely a topic of conversation. The reaction is essentially, yeah, I guess they could win a Super Bowl. There is a necessity, especially in media and fan discourse, to sometimes release our grip on the past or on preconceived notions. I addressed this in a previous video regarding Patrick Mahomes' injury, expressing sadness and discussing its implications. I acknowledged there would be other conversations about Kansas City's future, but stated I wouldn't lead with that topic immediately, suggesting it could wait. The point was, we must focus on the teams that currently matter. We have thoroughly exhausted the narrative of, what's wrong with the Chiefs? Can they still do it? The answer became clear, no, they cannot. Mahomes' injury is devastating and a profound disappointment. But I want to discuss the teams that genuinely matter in the present championship picture. As difficult as it is to admit, the Chiefs do not matter for the remainder of this season. Not in the grand, universal sense, but in the immediate football context. It is more pertinent to analyze Denver, Green Bay, New England, Buffalo, Philadelphia, etc. We must discuss them. We have no choice. You cannot ignore the top-ranked team in the league. You cannot ignore Bo Nix, who is performing at an exceptional level. Here is an undeniable truth. Bo Nix's mother stated he is her favorite quarterback of all time. She also believed they would defeat the Packers. She was correct on that count. Perhaps her assessment holds merit on the former point as well. But those are simply my reflections. I would be delighted to hear yours. What are everyone's thoughts on this? Share your perspectives in the comment section below. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or oppose me, let's engage in some dialogue. Let's have some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's simply enjoy the conversation. Please consider subscribing. We are cultivating an incredible community here and would absolutely adore your participation. I aim to build something we all feel a genuine connection to, something we're truly enthusiastic about joining. I believe we are making significant progress toward that goal. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely assists with visibility in the platform's algorithm. Thank you so very much. I will see you all next time.